welcome to my video. Today I am at Baker Beach in San Francisco and I'm doing an oil pastel drawing of the waves. So I just want to show you a little bit of this process that I'm going through. I'm using this set of Pentel Arts oil pastels. I got them on Amazon a while ago and I've actually been using this brand since I was a kid in grade 7. They're really cheap. I think this whole set was $8, so you don't need fancy stuff to make something that's kind of nice. This is the scene in front of me that I'm trying to turn into a piece of art. I'm editing out that boat and anybody who walks by, and this is trickier for me than usual because I haven't painted waves before that are I've painted waves, but I haven't made them the focus of the painting, so it's a little tricky because they're constantly moving and I kind of have to just come up with something based off of this whole constantly changing environment. This is what I have so far. I started off by using kind of the opposite color of what I see out there. So in this scene, the sand is kind of a warm color. It's sort of vaguely a yellow, orangey, gray tone. So I decided to use the opposite color to start and fill it in with a blue. And I'm kind of just looking at the colors that I see and overemphasizing what I think they would be. The water to me kind of looks like blue-green, but it's obviously very neutral and gray. So on my first lay-in, I'm using saturated opposite colors because the opposite color in oil pastel, when you lay it down and then you put the real color that you see on top of it, it will help neutralize it to make it more gray. So if you're looking at the top of this painting here, I've already started finishing the top where the sky is, and I've put down yellow at the bottom, and then I've added this blue color. I've added hints of this purple because I like kind of emphasizing purple in neutral tones, and then over top of everything I mixed in just white to bring up the value and desaturate. And then you can see that I've kind of used my thumb to twist in some kind of swirlies to kind of give it a bit of emotion. In the distance there's these rock cliffs, and looking at them, they're a super neutral color, but I think they're obviously more of a cold color than a warm color. So I kind of am estimating that I think they should be a little bit purpley blue and very desaturated. So when I started for this section, I laid down this kind of, rosy color, and then I have this rag here that I'm kind of using for my first lay-in to kind of rub into this canvas paper so that the pastels will kind of get into all the grooves. And then on top now, I'm laying down some of this hyacinth violet color and a little bit of this kind of more neutrally ochre color. I guess it's yellow-gray, to get a little bit of color variation. I don't know if you can see it on the video camera, but and the fog is all rolling in. So there's dark spots where the plants and trees are growing that you can see very vaguely in the distance, and then there's lighter spots which are more the rock cliffs. So I'm just kind of estimating and trying to create some really interesting color combinations here. We'll see how it turns out. Lighter gray color. I can tell that the cliffs are darker obviously than the sky, so this gray will help lighten up this purple color and desaturate it, and then bring it one step darker than the sky, but still lighten up what I have on the paper so far. I think it still needs a bit more color variation, so I'm going to go back with this yellow-gray and kind of add some warmer touches. A while ago, I would have made this mountain cliff a lot smaller because of how far away it actually is in reality, but I've been doing a lot of plein air painting and plein air studies recently, and I'm trying to get a little less realistic with things and just try and work on stuff that I think would make the composition look nicer rather than trying to be more accurate. Hopefully it pays off. Sometimes I don't like the final result, but I think as artists we always have to stick with it even if it's not turning out the way that we envisioned it originally, and eventually all of the learning that we're getting while failing so much will pay off and we'll make some really great art. I want to add a bit more variation, so I'm using this old rose up here to kind of brighten up the cliffs where the sky meets the cliffs, and then I think I might go in and kind of soften this transition so that it's not such a hard line between the sky and the cliffs. This is just old rag from some old pajama pants. Okay, now I'm gonna go conquer this waterline here and try and throw the waves into my composition. We'll see how it goes. I think this is the trickiest part because the water is constantly moving. I think like this distance will be easier, but we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna start off with this kind of olive green color because I'm seeing a lot of green tones in the water. Just gonna scumble this in. Oh, there's a cute dog, look. Kind of making up some of it too. Working on this is not like taking a photo where everything's still. You kind of have to make up what you're doing. So I'm still working with this color and just dropping it in where I think it might work in the composition. The base of the wave, I mean they're all changing, but the base gets a shadow to them too, which I've kind of dropped in a bit of this like purpley color. So I don't know, I'm going to keep working on it and trying. Definitely not blue skies today, but I am going to do the top of the water now with this kind of light sky blue. I'll have to go back in with a white to kind of get those hints of reflected sky that are on the tops of the waves, because like all in this part right there, there's so much detail, so I'll have to figure out a way to kind of simplify that. You can see these two spots I've left for filling in with a white splashy waves after, so that's what I'm kind of trying to go for. But right now they do look really even, and that's not something that I want to keep, so maybe I'll have to figure out keeping one of them this kind of semicircle shape and maybe breaking this one up a little bit more. Because they're so similar, it's boring in the composition, so I want them to be a little bit more different. It seems to me sometimes when the water's on the sand and then there's little hints of the sand peeking through the water, so I'm taking this yellow-gray color and I'm just implicating some of the sand. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have this wave like cresting and kind of splashing in white, and then this one I'm going to have like it's already started to fizzle out and kind of splash onto the shore. And I guess since I have this right now, I might as well throw the sand in a little bit with this color too. I'm going to mix it with a couple other tones later, so it won't just look like this unified yellow-gray on the top of the blue. But I guess that's what's nice about doing like oil pastels and having your underpainting being those opposite colors, because it gives you a lot of nice color variety. Okay, so now I'm thinking I want a bit of color harmony with the cliffs there and the water, so I'm going to use a little bit more of this purple I've used up in the cliffs and add it into the water, just to give it kind of some of those similar tones. Looks like the water's rolling in, so we might actually have to move soon. I'm going to try and work a little bit quicker. I'm using the same purple color to get the shadow in under the waves. And I think I might also use it a bit to emphasize kind of do you see how like the water's really light right there where it meets the sand? I want to emphasize like a bit of a shadow where I'm gonna drop in the white on top of this yellow after. This is the gray that I used for the cliff. I'm gonna go one step a little bit darker to desaturate what I have in the waves right now, and then I think on top of that I'm going to add maybe one of these darker greens to get those darker parts of the wave. Sorry if I'm not holding the camera super still. It's a little chilly and it's not the perfect filming situation. Okay, this set has this nice kind of aqua green color. Oh, pale green, that's what they call it. I'm gonna lighten up what I have here with that gray that's over top, and I think I might actually move up the beach in a second because the tide's coming in. I like pressing kind of heavy like this because, I mean, as much as I like the canvas texture of this, actually here, let me show you in case you got questions. This is the XL Canson oil and acrylic paper. It's 9 by 12 inches, and I just use painter's tape to give myself a border to work with. Kind of just estimated how big I wanted it for today, so it's like not a perfect size for framing or anything. Yeah, I like to just press in a little bit so that I'm not having too much of the white of the paper peek through, but I mean, it is still like a nice effect to have that canvas texture. So I've decided that this wave is already kind of fallen over, and I'm noticing that the waves, when they're falling over, they have kind of like a vertical look to them, obviously, and it's kind of like it seems to be picking up a little bit of the light, and I want to kind of use a warmer light. So I'm going to take this yellow ochre and lightly go on the paper to get some light tones, and I am going to move up. Okay, alright, we're moved up a bit, so hopefully no getting splashed. While I'm doing this, I'm kind of just eyeing these waves and getting them to give me a bit of an idea what I should be doing. We'll see how it goes. It's okay if you're working and you don't feel completely confident. You should just try your best and make mistakes. I think I'm going to put just a little touch of this yellow on this wave so that it will also look kind of like it's starting to collapse over a bit. Let me see, is there anywhere else I can use this ochre? I think it may be a bit in like the sand. And it kind of seems like it would work good in these little waves that are coming up on the shore. Let me see what I can do here. I think it'd be nice to maybe have some over here. Let's see. I don't know. We'll just try. I just want to show you what I do with these colors to clean them up. Sometimes when you're using the pastels on top of like your previous layers, they'll get a bit mucky on the top. So I'm just using a rag to kind of clean that off so that when I lay it down, it'll be like a purer color. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to use that one. Okay, so this is the regular ochre color, and I'm going to drop it into the sand a little bit on my painting. It's kind of nice to play up this purple-yellow complementary color palette. Not certain about this choice, but I'm going to drop in some of this pale vermilion into the sand because I use it up here in the clouds and in the, I don't know, this kind of area and in some of those like color complementary first lands. So I think it might look kind of nice and harmonious to add it to the sand again. Okay, I like that. Let's be brave and lighten up this yellow color. I'm gonna throw in, let's do this peach. Yeah, this pale orange light. Let's throw that in there. And that's gonna be where the water washes up on the shore like that. Ooh, I like this effect. oil pastels, I don't know, I haven't used them a whole bunch recently, but they were something I really liked working with when I was a kid because they're really tactile. You really get to like kind of mush them in, and feels a little bit more like working with clay or something. Where the water washes up on the shore, it kind of is reflecting the light from the sky, and what I have on here already is light blue a bit in the sky, so I think it'd be appropriate to add this light blue back in here before I desaturate it with some white. And I'm just kind of using this lightly to give it a bit of a very light touch. Oh man, we gotta move. Okay, I guess it's probably not ideal to be moving this much when you're doing outdoor art, but sometimes things happen like that. Okay, we're safe from the water for now. I'm going to drop in this darker green to get some of these darker areas of the water. So I'm just going to add them sparingly. And also probably I'll put some under where I want to have these waves. In the far distance, these little green peaks where the wave is coming up, they kind of like all blend into each other. So to simplify that on my painting, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, not differentiating between the ones that are in the distance. Like the ones that are closer, I'm kind of separating them with their own lines. But the ones in the distance, I'm kind of just scumbling the pastel and just blending them together. Now I'm gonna add this blue-green and try and add some more color variety to these little waves that I've created here. And I'm getting sand on my paper, which is not ideal, but it's okay. I think I'm gonna do the white now and get the water that's kind of coming up on the shore where I have this spot here. Oh, I gotta clean this first, look. I may just drop some white right now into the waves too. So I'm not showing you the full thing because I kind of need two hands for this, but I'm just applying different amounts of texture with this white to try and get some texture and like variety. And for the areas that I want to be more like opaquely white, I'm pressing harder to try and drop it more firmly into the cam paper. I'm playing with an idea here to have this part more like it's splashing, so using kind of like a scratchy, zigzaggy direction with the pastel when I'm drawing. It's nice to get a lot of color variation. Okay, I think I figured out how to link these two waves together. If I kind of put a bit of a crest right here, then it will make more sense that they're both being pushed by the wind at the same time. I was worried about this part. I'm going to take this pale brown and add it to the sand. Right now the sand I think is too dark in value, so I'm going to try and see if this will light it up a bit. I like this. I think it's working pretty good. This is what's nice about working in oil pastels, is that the layering that you do just gives a lot of nice variety to the final product, because like there's blue tones, greens, yellows, pinks. That's what I like about the oil pastels. So now I'm going to take this pale orange light again and lighten these and just a little bit more in areas, so it's not all the same value. Because I mean, if you look at it, people have stepped around and stuff. I probably won't go into that same kind of detail. No, I think I could even put some of this in the water. white on top of the water because in here it's a little bit muddy, and I just want to see if I can bring a little bit more of the white in, and I'll fix this horizon line. I'm going to use this to blend the mountains to the sky more. And now I gotta face this area that I've been worried about working on this entire time. When the waves come up, it seems like they get kind of like yellowy gray at the bottom, so I'm gonna use yellow gray. I think it's because maybe they're like taking the light in from the sand, and it's coming up and into the waves, so I'm gonna try and add this color here. Yeah, I think that's gonna work. And I think I can kind of distinguish some of these splashes in the front by adding this color in here too. Bring it into the sand. And maybe it comes into the top of the wave a bit if it's at the right angle. I think this olive green will be a nice segue between that yellow and the top green of the waves. Maybe throw some in here too. Let's try adding a bit of this just green color in here too. When I started this composition, I knew I wanted it to be about the waves, which is tricky because I have not done such like a wave focused scene before. When the water comes over, it seems like the wave gets a dark spot at the top, and like on top of that is the light of the sky being reflected. So let me see if I can implement that a bit. Some of this green in where the background waves are. And again, why not just throw some into the foreground? When the waves are coming over, they get darker in the front, so it looks like I'm going to use this middle gray again underneath the waves to blend all of those nice green and ochre tones together again. And then I think I'm going to go over top of this again with the white to get those splashes. When the water rolls up onto the land, it's not even. Like sometimes, I mean, it's nature, so there's a lot of variety. Ooh, and there's like sea foam coming out too. That's kind of cool. So I kind of am dropping in some of the same gray to give a little bit of like darker areas. I've added some here to the sand so that there's a bit of a value difference. This whole image is kind of turning out to be lighter key. There's not too many really dark values in it. I want to add a little bit more yellow in where the waves are splashing. So let's go with this yellow, Naples yellow, and just add a bit in to the waves here. I think I can also probably throw it in. I don't like to leave too much of the canvas texture showing. I don't know, it's just personal preference. It's nice because like this is a lighter value color, so it'll lighten a bit, but it's good because we already have these dark greens, dark yellows, and the gray and darker gray in there to keep that shadow under the wave. This is going to add some color variety. So I have this rag on my finger, and I'm just going to use it to try and smear some of these colors in a little bit. We're nearing the finish. I am going to use white to emphasize these waves and try and get a little bit of the character of and randomness of how they kind of splash and stuff. And on top of the waves is lighter, so let me put the white on the top. they also kind of splash off, so maybe some small marks like that. Looks like I'm making this wave look like it's kind of collapsing too, so maybe some splashy marks. That's just to get the goop off the side sometimes instead of using the rag. I'm not sure about this, but I think I'm going to just darken this a little bit with this purple and then go over it one more time because I think it got a little bit light underneath the wave and I want it to be darker again. And I'll blend it in with this olive green. Or wait, actually I don't know if this one's olive. Which one's this? Green gray. Okay. And I was also thinking it'd be good to kind of show that this is collapsing over here. Kind of like that one. Let's finish up with this pale green. Put some of that in there. Okay, I dropped a little bit more dark green in, and I don't know, I think I'm ready to finish this up, so I'm just gonna go over with a little bit more white. Try and press hard to get those like kind of light splashes of water. Okay, I'm going to take off the tape now. This is the tricky part because sometimes the tape rips the paper. So you always go slow. When I put the tape on, I try and do it lightly too. Okay, so there we go. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, and it was fun making a video for you. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed hanging out on the beach with me today. If you have any outdoor oil pastel things or any art that you want to show me, I'd really love to see it because it's super fun having like a channel with like the small following that I have, and I don't know, seeing other people who share their art and who are learning to be the artists that they want to be too. So I hope you have, I don't know how to end this. How do we end this? So it would also be neat if you posted your outdoor art and tell me where you're from, because I think it's really neat that on the internet we can, you know, meet other artists from around the world. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day, and thanks. Bye. This guy has been trying to get a hold of his dog for like, I don't know how long, but the dog just keeps running away. He's having too much fun out here. That wasn't even the guy whose dog it is. It's like some guy who's way down there trying to get his dog to come back. Oh.